we've learned now that Mike McCarthy already has an interview set up with the Bears for later today. Now, this is not one of those half-ass Zoom interviews. No. No Zoom here. No laptops, no smartphones are needed. You see, the Chicago Bears are flying in Mike McCarthy for an in-person interview at Hallis Hall. And that's only their second in-person meeting of the coaching interview process, the head-hunting season for the Chicago football team. The Bears are going to take Mike McCarthy out to a nice dinner after they have a private sit-down at the Bears facility. They're going to have a private meal at some highfalutin local restaurant in the back room. You know those restaurants that have the VIP room that you've got to save, and you only like the really wealthy people get to go in there and get the special. Yeah, that's where they're going to bring Mike McCarthy after he meets at Hallis Hall with the Bears. So let us discuss the question. Mike McCarthy is planning on meeting with the Bears first. He's not met with anyone else yet. He's going to meet with the Bears first. What does that tell us? What does that tell us? So I have Dr. Love, Invention Dimension, and Star Trek. And we will combine all of these things together and try not to go bonkers. We're going to try not to go bonkers. So number one. So what does it tell? All right, this thing's broken. What does it tell us? Mike McCarthy planning to meet with the Bears first. That tells us there is a mutual admiration society. Okay, that's what that tells us. McCarthy is sitting in the driver's seat, and as long as he has good table manners here, he's in solid shape. The Bears are rolling out the red carpet. A notoriously frugal franchise, the Chicago Bears, are planning to wine and especially dine Mike McCarthy. So the soundtrack to this part of the story is a disco tune, Dr. Love, from the girl group First Choice, because McCarthy, right? McCarthy, he is at the very top. His first choice is the Bears, and it would appear to be the Bears' first choice is Mike McCarthy. Is that outrageous? Am I being a shock jock? I don't think I am. I think it's rather self-explanatory. You don't have to have any inside knowledge that Mike McCarthy waited to get out of Dallas. The Bears did not hire a coach right away. Remember, New England Patriots already hired their coach. They knew they wanted Mike Vrabel. They hired Mike Vrabel. The Chicago Bears, it sounds like they want Mike McCarthy, but they had to wait, so they played the little game, and they pretended like they were searching the web to find a head coach, and now they've got their guy coming to town later today. There's major cronyism in play here, right? Major cronyism in play, as we have laid out in previous episodes of this radio program. That Mike McCarthy shares the same agent with the Chicago Bears embattled general manager Ryan Poles. So there is some nepotism in play. That's a big part of this. These talks have likely been going on behind the scenes for some time, and it's just a matter of getting together and making sure that the optics are good on this. Chicago has a helping hand. They have a helping hand because, as I said, everyone's in bed with everyone else in this story, which is why Mike McCarthy had leverage with Jerry Jones. Now, there is a conspiracy theory that I came across here recently that the intention all along was Jerry Jones did not want to bring back Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy did not want to come back, but they wanted to play this game so both sides look good. Meaning Jerry didn't fire McCarthy to sully Mike McCarthy's reputation. McCarthy and Jones pretended like they were negotiating. They never actually talked about a contract. This is the conspiracy theory. And they just let the clock run out, and that way they said, well, we just couldn't work out a deal, and we love Mike, and he'll go somewhere else. And Jerry doesn't look bad for firing a coach. McCarthy doesn't look bad for getting fired, and you move on. Now, that's the grand conspiracy of it all. But you wonder which steakhouse. There's some fine restaurants. That's a good food town, Chicago. Do they go steakhouse? Do they go pizzeria? that deep dish Chicago pizza. Now, people in Chicago say, the locals say, wow, we don't eat the deep dish. That's for the tourists, but we eat the regular pizza in Chicago. But where does McCarthy go? And there'll be some waiter or a couple of waiters who are going to have the inside skinny. They are going to know loose lips, sink ships, and feed insiders. And they will have insider knowledge later today on whether or not this is a done deal. Is this a celebratory meal where they go out and have a nice, expensive dinner to celebrate the start of a new bond, a new friendship? All right, now pitch 2. With Mike McCarthy headed to Chicago for a meet and greet, I was reading that the New Orleans Saints are also said to be bird-dogging the portly coach who's available. So, question, do you foreshadow a bidding war for Mike McCarthy? So I'd like 2 letters on the Wheel of Fortune. I'd like an N, and can I get an O? How about no? This is a trip to the invention dimension. The invention dimension. People writing the coattails of Mike McCarthy, it's more probable than not, have been busy, very busy, concocting a story, inventing a story out of thin air here. Social media warfare, which is a more potent tool, easier to manipulate the minds of the unwashed. Back in the old days, you used to have to plan stories by paying off media people, bribing journalists, but now you can just get a bunch of bot accounts and the right algorithm on social media, and you can plant stories all over the place. You don't have to pay a bunch of journalists. You just spend a little bit of money on bot accounts and those sock puppet accounts. You're on your way. So, but you don't drive the price up for a guy like Mike McCarthy. Is that fair to say? He's not the worst coach in the NFL. He's certainly not the best. And the Bears and the Saints, they have Scrooge-like tendencies when it comes to their finances. New Orleans is more of like a starter job. It's a reclamation project job. Those are the coaches they get. They get the rejects. That's what they get. That's who coaches the Saints. And the Bears also typically get some nondescript defensive coordinator or some reclamation project also, which Mike McCarthy would fall into the reclamation project, having already failed at 2 coaching jobs. But based on the clues, I still maintain, and it's rather obvious here, that the Bears are in the catbird seat for Mike McCarthy. And he haunted the Chicago Bears as a poltergeist while he was coaching at Lambeau Field for the Green Bay Packers. And now he can work as an enemy combatant inside the walls of Hallis Hall and still haunt Chicago by doing a incompetent job. All right, turning the page. Final point. Eagles coach Nick Sirianni on the warpath. What is he upset about as the Eagles get ready to play the Rams in the divisional round this weekend? Nick Sirianni blasting what he called, quote, lazy critics and the criticism of disgruntled wide receiver A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, who decided to multitask, not only play in an NFL playoff game, but read a nice book on the sidelines, and media pundits pointing out the issue that the reason Brown did that was because he was not happy, and he was trying to get his emotions in check. And so what he did was he grabbed the book and made a spectacle of the situation. What is your school of thought on Nick Sirianni blasting what he calls the lazy criticism of A.J. Brown being disgruntled by reading a book? So on this one, Nick Sirianni has his Star Trek deflector shields going, and he's guarding against all of that space debris and those enemy attacks. A.J. Brown, just watching that game against the Packers, A.J. Brown, he had the body language of a disgruntled person. And we know he's a guy that needs the spotlight. You walk a tightrope with a guy like A.J. Brown. He was not getting the ball up to his standard. He was not on the same wavelength with his quarterback, Jalen Hurts. So he pulled out a book to calm his anxiety, if you will. And it was one of those self-help type books where they give you positivity and all that. But this is a uniquely Philadelphia experience. And I might be missing it. If I am, let me know. I don't recall other teams allowing props on the sidelines like this. Like, nobody else in the NFL is pulling out a book to read on the sidelines. Like, it's not happening. I don't recall it happening. There have been guys that have eaten food on the sidelines or whatever. But Nick Sirianni said he supports his guys in Philly doing whatever they need to do, on the sidelines to put their mind in a place where they can compete. So how far, here's the question, how far are you willing to push the envelope? All right, if Jalen Hurts, let's say Jalen Hurts wanted to warm up, it's kind of cold in Philadelphia, and he wanted to take some of that trash and start a bonfire. But he needs it because, let's be honest, this is how he has to get his mind in the right place to compete. He's like a pyromaniac, Jalen Hurts. He needs fire, so he wanted to start a bonfire. But it would only be on the bench. It wouldn't be anywhere else. It would be a controlled burn on the bench. Would Sirianni be okay with that? What if Saquon Barkley said, I was in the band when I was in junior high school, and I liked the tuba. So I would like to play the tuba on the sidelines during the game. Is the coach okay with that if I can play the tuba? No? Now, we know that Nick Sirianni, very competitive. Remember when he famously played rock, paper, scissors with NFL draft hopefuls? That's allowed, right? What if they just stopped the game, said timeout Eagles, and we're going to have a couple of our guys go out to the 50-yard line, and they'll do a quick game of rock, paper, scissors? Yeah. All right. I'm just asking, like, where do you draw the line? Is there a line to be drawn? But whether you have a problem with what A.J. Brown did or not, I don't kind of roll my eyes. Like, how can you really have a big problem with it? But it is unique. As I said, A, it's unique, and B, it's obviously something that was done to make everyone look at him. He knows the cameras are always on in a playoff game, and all the singing and all the dancing and look at me and all that stuff because he was not happy. If he was happy, he wouldn't have needed to read the book. Kind of obvious. Self-explanatory, I would say, at this particular point.